OMG. How you guys doing? I'm gonna take my mask off because we're doing a tour. I'm far away from Phil, he's safe. Plus I have the antibodies. Weak. But today we're gonna be doing a little tour of Billionaire's Row, 57th Street here in New York City. It's gonna be a good one. There's a lot of stuff people don't know about on this street. And no big deal, but I'm a New York City tour guide, so I should know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna be crossing here on Park Avenue. We'll get started. All right, let's go. So we're crossing Park Avenue, which wasn't created until the early 1900s. In fact, way down there you could see what's Grand Central Terminal, right under the Helmsley building, that beautiful building. Now when Grand Central opened, it electrified the trains that used to leave from the station, meaning that they no longer needed to be open air. What is Park Avenue today used to just be tracks that let all the air out of all the locomotives and all that stuff. When they paved over, because they were electrified, they created new real estate. And Park Avenue became the hottest place to live and work in New York City because it was the early 1900s and New York City was booming. So it became Park Avenue. Interesting story, 4th Avenue used to end at Grand Central Terminal, so it's right south of Park Avenue. And when Park Avenue was created, everyone was like, oh, Park Avenue is super cool. So the people on 4th Avenue were like, well, we want to do Park Avenue too. We're right under them. So they petitioned the city, and the city changed their name to Park Avenue. So the only thing that exists of 4th Avenue today is in the East Village. Little sliver. Interesting little fact. Here to the left, you have one of the first big buildings of Billionaire's Row. This is 432 Park Avenue. It's this giant square building, one of the tallest residential skyscrapers in the world. Used to be the tallest, but it's been passed. 1,396 feet tall. J-Lo and A-Rod had a place there. You can see that it has these openings every few floors, because it's to allow air to pass through so it doesn't tip over. It's really, really tall, so you can see it from anywhere in the city, any of the other boroughs. And it's this really tall, ugly skyscraper. So they call it the middle finger of Manhattan. It's all the rich people in Manhattan giving the middle finger to the rest of the boroughs. Pretty cute. Here to the right, too, you have the Four Seasons, home to one of the most expensive hotel rooms in New York City. The Ty Warner Suite runs about $50,000 a night. For $50,000, you get your own Rolls Royce for the night. You also get heated floors, which I kind of understand, because if you're willing to pay $50,000 for one night in a hotel room, your feet are probably well accustomed to the burning coals of hell. So go for it. We're crossing Madison Avenue now, which is named after the 4th President of the United States. It's where the TV show Mad Men got its name. Madison Men, that's where all the advertising was located. We can make this, Phil. We're crossing on red, no big deal, we're kind of badasses. Over there in the distance you can see Tiffany. Here to the right you have Fendi, very famous Italian company. Karl Lagerfeld used to be one of the designers for it. Ah, Karl Lagerfeld, you know that guy with the white hair? Got an interesting looking dude. And Dior, Chanel. Miu Miu, which I learned is a subsidiary of Prada, Miu Miu. It's all fancy stores because it's Billionaire's Row. Here to the left is Tiffany and Co, which dates back to the mid-1800s. Charles Tiffany, but his son, Louis Comfort Tiffany, was the one who kind of took Tiffany to the next level. So this is kind of their flagship store. You may recognize it from Breakfast at Tiffany's. You might recognize it from the song Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something in the 1990s, I believe. That really puts me at I'm young, okay? But that's the song that goes, and I said, what about Breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember the film. That was pretty damn good. They actually have an engagement ring in there worth $2.5 million. They also make the Lombardi Trophy for the Super Bowl. They make the World Series trophy, the NBA Finals trophy. They make everything that's like, you know, fancy jewelry or glass. Here to the right is Louis Vuitton. You guys know who Louis Vuitton is? And you have Van Cleef and Arpels, probably the most pretentious sounding name out of all of them. Eva Peron was famous for wearing their stuff, as was Liz Taylor. And these two buildings are also Bergdorf Goodman. Right here, Bergdorf Goodman. I talked about them in another video, but Bergdorf Goodman started as Herman Bergdorf's, he was a French tailor, started near Union Square, moved up here, and promoted his old apprentice, who was Edwin Goodman, and took over. And it became very, very famous, very expensive, very expensive. I tried to go in one time, looked at one item, a polo shirt. I'll never forget it. It was $400, a $400 polo shirt. That's why you only go to the outlets, baby. Take that away from these tours. Go to the outlets, shop at the outlets. But if you have the money, why not, I guess, you know? And if you have the money, I'll leave my PayPal and Venmo in the description. Here to love you, Hermenegildo Segna. That's a cool name. Let's stay out of this walkway. Get out of here. I hate these things. Over here you have the Solo building. It's called the Solo building. It's 9 West 57th Street. It's a sloped building. You may recognize it as the headquarters of Mugatu and Zoolander. It's also where Chandler, the exterior, where Chandler worked in Friends. Remember, they filmed all that in LA though. So all the exteriors are done here, but they filmed it in LA. Also from the movie Superman, where he apprehends a thief who was using suction cups to get up the building. Another little fact, I don't know if you guys remember the shoe company 9 West. That's where they got their name, 9 West 57th Street. These are some really like obscure facts. One of these days you guys are going to be in barroom trivia and this stuff's going to come up and you're going to remember this face. There to the left you have the Sunglass Hut, Le Sunglass Hut. Sorry, Sunglass Hut, I was just kidding. But that's here too. It's not all expensive stores. So we're walking between 5th and 6th Avenue, which is actually the widest chasm between any of the avenues. Pretty wide. And you're going to start seeing some of the like super tall skyscrapers. The reason Billionaires Row got its name was because of these gigantic condo buildings that appeal to pretty much just billionaires because of how expensive they are. So just so you guys know, New York City has the most billionaires in the world, with 79 billionaires as of, I think a year or two ago. 79 billionaires that make their primary residence here, because obviously billionaires have more than one home. But that's the most of any city in the world. And they're combined now. Oh, we're getting dark, Phil. Let's watch Phil's magic fingers at work, try to save this lighting. So that's 79 billionaires with a total worth of $364 billion. That's like the GDP of Denmark among 79 people here in New York. That doesn't make you uncomfortable, I don't know what will. It's a lot of money, man. So we're coming up to 6th Avenue, which is also called Avenue of the Americas. Fiorello LaGuardia gave it that name when they had the Pan American Conference here in the 1930s in New York City, and no one calls it that. So don't ever say, how do I get to Avenue of Americas? Because then they'll be like, oh, you're a tourist. Give me your money. It's one of the reasons why these super tall towers exist. They were built so tall because we're on 57th Street, and they still wanted their views of Central Park. The problem is you can't build buildings that tall on 59th Street or 58th Street because there's restrictions. They want to keep the park open. They don't want the sunlight to be taken away. We're going to cross here so we don't get under this thing. So they put on restrictions, but the developers were smart enough, and they're like, screw this, and they put the building super tall on 57th Street so they still get their views, and they can charge a killing on their rents. Pretty smart. They outsmarted the city. So now there's a big push against these buildings, and they're trying to get the city to enact restrictions on height, vetting processes, etc., so these buildings don't rob the sunlight from Central Park. Now we're going to be coming onto the other side here. There's 111. You see 111 57th Street, super tall building here. You don't have to pan up. I'll get some B-roll. Oh boy, this building is over 1,400 feet tall. That's taller than the roof of One World Trade Center. You have 111 57th Street here. Also built next to the Steinway. We're built using the Steinway building. The Steinway building, the name of the piano company that started here in New York. This was they used to be their showroom, and you also have the Directors Guild here. Directors Guild, I'm an actor, it's not a big deal. Maybe we can go inside and see if they'll give me a job. Here's the Calvary Church here, Calvary Baptist Church. Kathy Lee Gifford's brother randomly used to be the pastor here. Very popular place to come, for politicians to get photographed, praying at and stuff. Bill Clinton, Nixon have worshipped there. Over here too, you have 157 57th Street, right here to the right. 157 57th Street, famous for having a crane almost fall down during Hurricane Sandy. There was a crane dangling there for like 2 weeks. People were horrified, just waiting for it to fall, and it never fell. But this was a very tall building until the other ones dwarfed it recently. The penthouse in this building was recently sold All right. We get it. This is 157 57th Street. The penthouse there sold for $100 million, actually, to a Qatar, a citizen of Qatar who had a ton of money. And here to my left, you got Carnegie Hall. Carnegie Hall from 1891, as in Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate. I imagine you don't give yourself the title magnate. I'm not a tour guiding magnate, or I could be, I guess. But this guy made a lot of money in the steel industry. And he liked to give his money back. And one of the things he did was he created this building with some very famous acoustics, actually, for performance. People like James Taylor, you name them, and they've played here. I don't know why James Taylor's the first person I thought of. That's really random with all the famous people that have played here. But it's been here since 1891. There's the old saying, if a tourist asks you, how do you get to Carnegie Hall, you're supposed to say, practice, practice, practice. Same way you get to know all the stuff that I know about New York. Wink. Oh my God, we're gonna get run over. Here you have the subway, 57th Street. We're almost to 8th Avenue, which is where we're gonna end. Here you have the Nordstrom Tower, which is the tallest residential skyscraper in New York. Also home to the only Nordstrom in New York. Also around here is the most expensive apartment sold in New York. It was recently sold to the head of a big hedge fund. Ken Griffin is the person with the most expensive apartment ever sold here at 220 Central Park South, really close to us. $238 million for an apartment. Come on, that's insane. Give me some of that money. Give it to me. I should send him my PayPal and Venmo. We're getting here to Broadway. So Broadway here at 59th Street is going to be Columbus Circle, named after Christopher Columbus, the man who discovered America. The landmass with hundreds of millions of people already living here. But this is where the Marshmallow Man appears in, right up here. He comes up into Columbus Circle. That's where he appears in the movie Ghostbusters. You guys ever seen the movie Ghostbusters? If you haven't, I did a video about it. I already plugged it. Maybe I didn't, but sick plug. You should look it up. It's good. A lot of cool locations. One of my favorite New York movies of all time. And we'll be getting kind of the end of this tour here at 8th Avenue. This is also, that guy's a real badass. He's driving like a little boxcar SUV, and he's peeling off the line at the, so you can see how Broadway was diagonal here. It's actually intersecting with 8th, and that's how Columbus Circle is created. But that's how also the other squares in New York are created, because Broadway goes diagonal up towards Central Park, and it intersects with the avenues that go north-south. So when it intersects with 4th, it's Union Square, 5th is Madison Square, 6th is Herald Square, 7th is Times Square. Oh, look at that. I think I covered that in another video too. You gotta know these things. I'm trying to, repetition, baby, repetition, that's how you learn. Let's get out here, Phil. Over here to the left, you're gonna see a building. We're just walking in the middle of the street. We don't care. You're gonna see a building known as the Hearst Building. The Hearst Building is kind of an interesting story because the bottom was finished in the year 1928. William Randolph Hearst, for his headquarters, for his companies, which is like Good Housekeeping, Entertainment Weekly, those kind of companies, those publishing magazines right here. But then the top was, he left the kind of space for the top to be finished at some point because the stock market crashed. It was a big problem. So it wasn't until 2006 that Sir Norman Foster finished the top. Sir Norman Foster is a Pritzker Prize winning architect. Pritzker Prize is like the Nobel Prize of architecture. It's given out once a year. When you win it, it's like, cha-ching. You're going around all over the world and you're making things like that. You're getting paid a lot of money. But that's a really cool building. You may recognize it too from Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. It's where the offices for the whatever the heck were. You'll see the clip. But yeah, we are now here at, there's a Maserati. That's kind of cool. I have one of those. Over in Ridgewood with my 2 roommates, I just park it outside. All right, well, guess what, guys? We made it to the end of the tour. I don't know what to tell you. We made it through Billionaire's Row. I'm gonna go panhandle a little bit, see if I can get some of that money. But this area is pretty empty right now. A lot of the people have moved on to their other houses. Nothing to see here in New York for them, so they're not here. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Helps a lot. Follow me on Instagram. That helps a lot too. Me and Phil are trying to get to that billionaire money, baby. We're going to build it so much that we're going to be living in these penthouses with Ken Griffin. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I guess I don't know what to tell you. See y'all later. Sick.